Hey guys, I'm back again. Continue on. Barbosa commanded the Queen as revenge arrived to the Tortuga to the Hispaniola. For the Jack of Gibbs and to save the bottled ship and included the Black Pearl was carrying over around or over to the end of the quest of the Fountain of Youth. And it takes about the 6 years later, and the 2012 of the per year, and takes on the Pirates of the Caribbean fifth movie about 2012 to 5 years to the 2017, and Barbosa and his crew was building to the other woods and the new red sails, and beside the wood also to be on in the golden brown and almost black and red, also the yellow and the golden and yellow. They're painting, building, and preparing the stuff on the decoration of a Queen Anne's Revenge. When Barbosa's ordering his ships was from the Blackbeards, was also they have the zombie sails was powerful, and it was the red sails and the red dragon sails, and it was a design about the sign about the land of the revenge. His ships was looked like about the pearl, and Jack runs over to the pearl when Marty Malloy the Mutag was to seen about the mention of the pearl. He seems as the first time was the sailing through the Queen Anne's the Queen Anne's Revenge. What is it, the famous pirate ships led by Barbosa from the Blackbeard. When Angelica died, he was unsleeped. She was almost died into the beach outside the ocean. Her father was praying, and after she's ended up on Stranger Ties. But with December 2012, Barbosa survived Solomon, Garthang, Ezekiel, Cabin Boy, and stays living in the Tortuga. And Scarlet Gazelle's not here today, and it's on 1751 per year. When Elizabeth the Will Turner, and Will Turner was cursed of the Flying Dutchman, was spent about for the last 8 years. When a young Henry Turner, his father was communicating, was turned into the curse from the Trident Spears, turns into point 11 from the Flying Dutchman, and Will Turner and his crew. They were same thing like her lighthouse did. She lives for her husband, her son, and there's the same familiar about the sometimes. Will Turner turns to the curse like same sea turtles did, like some of those about Kingdom of Spain on Jamaica. One of the same thing like Spanish Royal Navy was turned into the curse. Besides it on the deeper thing, on the deeper into the Trident of Poseidon. But besides the 1742, with the Will Turners and turns into curse to 1740s for the last 10 years. He'd been startled per now. Before he been endowed for the days, the month, the week, and year, and his father's curse was same like it about from the ghost ships, from Davy Jones to Will Turner, besides the Flying Dutchman, what he did. When a young guy was rowing to the boats to see his father and the ships, and his curses into the becoming to the pirate, besides from the Kingdom of Spanish, and most of the besides his mother was that she lived in her lighthouse. What she did, but she missed him, and Will misses her. While he's cursed was on sea turtles beside the land of the dead, the bottom of the ocean, and when he did says goodbye. And 2013, Jared Keimer, Gore Verbinski's, Joe Sinelli, and Hans Zimmer's film was Ron Marshall's was undertaking to the summer times to do something the most experiences to every motions about spring to summer, like Pirates of the Caribbean making up for the Dead Man Tales, and the Black Pearl was up there, was bigger than or original size on the back of the third sails, was also the taller than and about 165 feet tall, much still, from smaller to larger, like mostly the Queen Anne's Revenge. Everything I said about his ships did, about Barbossa's, it was including about the fleet ships like Spanish, British, French, and Dutch, like distracting, or been watching the Armanda's fleet like Napoleonic War. It was seems like familiar about the Queen Anne's Revenge, watching over to the British, Spanish, Dutch, or French Armada and the Royal Navy like free for all, including United States fleet ships, like the U.S. Navy and United States Navy. Usually they have from Royal Navy fights against the French, Spanish, Dutch, and British fleet, or Armada, and they're like some of those about sometimes about May 2013, when all the four fleets in the American victory watched over by pirates, and they were just silently to what happened to the fleets. U.S. Navy has heroes, with the pirates did, like mentioned only for sometimes. British, Spanish, Dutch, and French has the four villains. If you think about it, the four familiar thing about the fifth film, what's the familiar thing about it forever that takes about for the last 4 years? Queen Anne's Revenge. Sometimes there seems about the what finishes up about January 2013, and Memorial the Mutag turned into old was quite enough, and for one and a half to say Martin, John Scarfield was landed to the British Empire was the since 2013 in June, and he was decided to sign natures to the deadline on the Pirates 5th to play as the John Scarfield was the lieutenant and the officers, red coats and blue coats, and the soldiers and his crew was on the with Captain Tom's. It wasn't the same like Cole and Shane, and it was joined in by Henry formerly. It was the warships called galleons, the warships called same as the Monarch and XX. It was that has to figure that out. It was like it says, if it could be the belief in about before adventures thing, that the final begins. And in July to August 2013, I was recognized the scene the mentioned before. I was the 23 week certification for Korea. Black Pearl, same as Queen Anne's Revenge, and the Flying Dutchman turned this to the curse from Trident Spears. Besides he goes down there into the beside the depths. They're watching over at about 6,000 feet, and he lifts the land of the dead. About takes 10 years. He was concluding if really excitement, so all of his stuffs, while he's able to very helpful. It sometimes happens there from the movie theaters about Sea of Monsters like ghost sharks. If Salazar turned into the birds and turns into the Devil's Triangle there, when the three shark is dead, like Silent Mary does. When the Javier Bardem was signed into the deadline to the Pirates 5th, he's able to confirm to play Armando Salazar to plays over during the second movie, Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters, and Apple Stores, July 27, 2013, Logan Lerman and Alessandro Daddario, and Rick Riordan, like he says, it was the awkward thing about from first movie to second one, since could be also they have the Sea of Monsters there. It seems like Hippocampus and Charybdis, they're mostly the giant and like the Tides of War. It was the asking of one of the very most important thing about it and warring to be the ones a category for his pirate ships. And September to December 2013, they're like the Pirates' Fifth Sea, and Carlos Galorio confirms to the deadline the signature to signation to the application to play Karina Smith. Brenton Thwaites plays Henry Turner. He's been confirmed in the application to sign the deadline. This Pirates' Fifth, and Will Turner's, and he was separated from Miranda Kerr and his one kid, Flynn Bloom. And he was married for his guy, her husband. It seems like sometimes it's also they have a very most helpful, different deadlines. If it thinks that are very interesting, if it thinks closer to anybody else, is if it really most important, I show you about the most important thing about the very most very assignments. If it can be, it takes a lot of whole time, long time. My charges stays on. They're not gonna be dead for now. It's gonna be wise about 50%. Don't want it to be do that. So with the pirate ship continue on from 4th to 5th to be coming up the 4 more years. But now it's very interesting. So the most of the included important things about and things about it by itself. If it thinks about it, they really listen to quite enough to say yes. But for the pirate ships was building up over the 100 of the crew workers. Like it says, the pirate ships mostly have the Black Pearl, Queen Anne's Revenge, Ruddy Rose, and Red Dragon did. Like of course, same as the ships, like Dutch Bark, Galleon, and fully battleships and frigates still. It was a prop and turns in back from Wicked Wench for 1700s. And Captain Tom's, also all the characters. Gonfetta Farahana was confirmed to play Pirates 5th. To see it playing Sea Witch Shansa, was arrested for the war against piracy for the last 30 years. It takes about 31 years later, long time, but Salazar was the most of the time to see the states over the living about for the last 70s, 60s, but sometimes 7051 should be okay. From mentioned that the deleted scenes about extended times for days, weeks, a month, and year. Thinks about the whole time about 1760s. Takes 10 years. What the Salazars did about communicating for deadline for killing Jack Sparrow. What he did. What he does matter about during the Hobbit first, the second, the third movie. The second one could be December 2013 when the pirates did from the Desolation of Smaug, and Adam Brown's confirmed to that the pirate ship is playing Cremble. If the sad playing as the pirate ships during the Dying Gold, Martin Kleba confirms back to work and plays Martin to Pirates 5th to the deadline for the applications to online to the deadline, the paperworks. It is hard for me to really think about some why stats that's happened there. It's most of the very difficult to see everything at a time. And if you think about a whole lot of being works about it for mostly really do. And for before it's to the end of for the 2013, most of them continuing on the working on the Pirates 5th. And New Year's Eve, Happy New Year's 2014, last 3 years. Pirates 5th be coming to the day, as noticed about January through February, when the Pirates 5th became out to the ghost ships, besides the building up for the Greenwoods, turns to like a formerly like a Flying Dutchman. Looks beside the bear the Will Turner Sting, his father, his sons did recognize what he done did. His damnations could be about also be able to some otherwise. If fulfilling thing about it, all of the building stuff sat on the Imagine there, and Skellery was on the Dementano Tales was descending to the Disneyland to Orlando, Anaheim, California, Orlando Resorts, Florida, Shanghai for Europe, Shanghai, China to Singapore, and escorts during the really resources did. Because of Wiki did to use, but Salazar was enabled to his looking over to the tour thing when it tried to beside the Flying Dutchman was evening for Curse did when the green flash. He realized Will Turner's turns into Curse from human, and it takes a lot of 10 years to be 10 years about 1755. Like sometimes where we could after for the 10 years is from 1745. They're like sometimes I heard about communicating. They're like also we so it's probably be used before the very interesting. It's lost about it slows us down. It takes a lot as they can. They like to be an enema for the winter. Is also they have the Pirates thing spelled out forever. In the March through August 2014, and setting up an Imagine there for during it from the Maze Runners from the he ends up for Logan, Alex, Brendan, Jake, Levin was playing those about the second movie, and Alex and Logan, Levin, Douglas, and Brendan Jake did with also they mentioned that like Pirates 5th movie like Kyle's Glorio, and she did confirm it already there. Brendan did during the Maleficent to Disney movies. They're like one of them about movie reaction to Disney. Most of them like Dawn of the Planet Apes, like Fox 20th Century, Son of God, like some of those about issues for play notices about the Pompeii for TriStars. Before I had the imagination to be coming to the north and imagine that I was kind of complicated to separated to his ships forever when I made it set on the mansion for Pan on the pirate ships like Hugh Jackman and Blackbeard. I was to realize that what he did done to did. His choice was I was ever the murdered heard of it about for the last few 2 years before I sent on the magic there for the Pirates Fair for Jabbar Kaimos was directed by Terry Rossio, and they were also they told all of this the units was it the business workers that made it about the Disneyland resorts be coming to the resorts and explanations points, and they made that the Flying Dutchman was even though the curse from freedom was the same like for free from the ghost. And Silent Mary was trapped into the Devil's Triangle into the 1700s. It might be turning over about 20 years, about 1720s. It is set that for the 1700s, but Silent Mary destroys the 9 pirate fleets when the Wicked Wench was escaping from his Spanish ship of the line, was also be chased through it into the Devil's Triangle and turns it around into the cliff there, and when the strikes and turns into water was red like meteor. Was the explosion? Turned into fog was really hot. Um, they're like smoky, foggy, and warm and cold. And there were explosion. Also, they do. Even though about Salazar and his crew turned the ghost into the Devil's Triangle was explosion beside the ghost ships. When the young Jack did, and Salazar was resurrection by supernatural powers like red flower meteor. It did what he could. It was also the exactly what it has to be really did, even though for four interesting besides the building of the Barbossa's fleet for the Red Dragon, Jointing Lurk, Golden Pheasant, and Rising Phoenix. There was the build-ups all the ships it takes to loaning at the time during the 1756, which is they could. They like Ruddy Rose, like the Dutch Royal Navy. There were like some of those about working to start this September to February, September 2014 through February 2015, working on the Flying Dutchman, his seas Hemming Turner. It besides that sometimes, if it concluded for the help of each other, I fully also be the trying to do everything could be having the serious problems. If it misunderstands, I am and surely did. I don't know about the Pirates did be coming up about the next 2 years. That was in the last 2 years when I said been there about the advanced program. I seen the mentions about the Pirates movie, all the fifth film. If they could it about the specializations, they were leaving to the rival thing to see working on the set of matching there to the Dead Man Tell No Tales. They mostly concluded the building on the prop on the Queen Anne's Revenge, the Black Pearl, the Red Dragon, and the Ruddy Rose. Same thing about the four pirate ships and the Flying Dutchman, most of the five of them, and in the ghost ships as Spanish, the ghost soldiers, not on the pirates, as the ghost Spanish soldiers, turns into from Devil's Triangle. They have a set the matches there, make up for the colors thing, like whole thing like his ghost body, and if you feel like a really excitement to see everything who has to help with each other, it was an enemy becoming to the Silent Mary to set on the magic as was a prop. The Monarch XX was same as a prop. Was it the British warships? They're like 86 guns, like a Monarch. There are 88 guns there, like XX, John Scarfield ships, and Tom's, and things about wood about set imagines. It was the set on the imagine that who works there with a few more seconds. Also, we work about every 15 to 10 minutes. Takes about a long time. Through March through June 2015, and working on it very interesting about Jack Sparrow from Johnny Depp, Jeffrey Rush, Hector Barbossa, Captain on the Queen Anne's Revenge, building up for the Red Dragons. The red sails, the dragon was the golden, black, and reddish, and red ones is new, and the golden browns was on the top of their sails, red and black, and so many other things on the border that sat on the Imagine there was on the prop there. The like I said, Jerry Bruckheimer films, like G.F. Sinelli was sending to the musical positions to send to the composed by the 2 years. If it thinks that the Black Pearl did, also did prop, and Queen Anne's Revenge is prop. It crosses over about the Red Dragon and destroys by Silent Mary to kill every pirate at sea. And Ruddy Rose, was destroyed by Devil's Triangle into the Pike Rock, and if the cliff is beside was sank into depths. When the monarch was on the night there, and besides the Silent Mary, was on the closer than about Will Turner's thing, Will Turner's son. He orders his lines so what's it to communicate. If was it that I have to says, it felt like it'd be good about his specializations is really making really think about very arrive the very difficult, very hard as it he's can. Like Saint Martin did, Barbossa did was arrive there to the Saint Martin was closer than all the soldiers, what is his capture by pirates did. But Barbossa has the 10 ships there. It takes slows us down as much as they can. If he wants to think the circularizations about set to the 10 pirate ships there, Molloy the Mutog was on the cabins there from Blackbeard. It takes over about the 1758 and mostly has 1751 through the May 1751. Actually, he did. That's what exactly what he did. Does matter what it's about how is it that happens. It takes all of his time. It takes a lot about sending to the trailers, TV spots, the clips, full movies, and October 4th, 2017. Per now, that was about almost last week. That was been about in the ways over about the last 5 months. That's a long time. There might be rages over about the work in Poseidon very busy to the Poseidon's tomb, making it imagine there for set on set, and mostly they do like the ghost sharks attack on the Diangle's boat on the boat from the Diangle was Benedict abandoned. If he was attacked by Salazar's orders to his pet, when the 3 sharks did was attack Henry and Jack, and Karina swims beside the beach, and Salazar jumps into the board from his ship, but he went on the water. He went water on it, and he tries to kill Jack. He tries to swings it over. It was right there like coasters. But whoever the Silent Mary was meeting Jack there, letting by Salazar. The works over about for the last few moments there. If they have to do the bank rob there from Saint Martin, and guillotine execution, and Shansa play about Goafeda Farahana. She was been 32 for the last 2 years, and Farahana was confirmed to see playing Shansa. Was it the witch did to seemingly like the Trident did on Karina's rota on it. She would did was recognizing what is it he's done was using about consequences and long stories as that very prophets the Son of God, and besides and try to Poseidon did once about the ships did, and mostly the Rive did. Every ships did if it did about the good reasons about his cause about interestings, and however the about and about 2 hours and 29 minutes was Salazar's chase from the anchor from the Black Pearl was stabbed over by Barbossa, and his Barbossa and his Salazar's crew was fell over from the water. To think about Barbossa's death, and he would could about after the Black Rock Island was battled, and Barbossa's life was praying to the Lord. and Jack took Henry and Karina home by Elizabeth's lighthouse to see his father, Will Turner's, honest to the Flying Dutchman. He's free, back in the sea, and Will is free. And Keira Knightley plays Elizabeth Swann was confirmed back to his work about the last 10 years. And she did what she derived did. As the Darn St. Andres for the disaster film, Dwayne Johnson and Alessandro Daddario, color Gugino. That's a pretty good cinema. Imagine they're making the 2015 movie on Paris 5th, 2017. Alright guys, thank you so much for coming in. So long stories of 1 hour for 8 minutes. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to more content. So follow on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Google, Vine Cameras, Trace, Livestream, Patreons, Gaming Challenge, Juggy Stores, Cocker Story, Tumblr, Hangouts. The link is in the description. Like the comments today, and the links in the descriptions, and the YouTuber 24 friends, and actress friends, and according to the fan size, people's, men's, and women's, and kids, and children's, and seniors. If you want to welcome there in my channel things, thank you so much to the Feel Free to Death long stories about the Pirates 4 film movie, to long stories to Q&A Pirates 5th 2012 to 2015 through 3 years to talk about description while they work in the application to confirm to all the characters. Feel freedom to death, don't forget. So keep it rich, mateys. Have a great evening night.